The video opens with a slow, graceful shot of the morning sky. The camera soars above a quilt of white clouds as the first rays of sunlight spread across the horizon, spilling gold and pink across the upper atmosphere. The Earth below lies hidden, silent, while at 30,000 feet a silver passenger jet cuts through the heavens, small against the immensity of sky. Its engines hum a steady note, a heartbeat of metal and fire pushing forward into the dawn. Inside the cabin, soft light filters through oval windows, falling across rows of passengers in varying states of wakefulness. Some read, some sleep, some stare blankly at the seat before them. The air hums with the familiar quiet of a long flight, the occasional clink of a coffee cup, the muted shuffle of flight attendants moving between seats, the gentle rise and fall of conversations spoken too softly to disturb anyone. Among the passengers sits a young woman by the window, her face calm, unreadable. She appears like any ordinary traveler, jeans, a simple jacket, hair loosely tied back. She has the look of someone carrying neither hurry nor fear, the sort of passenger who blends into the anonymity of airports and boarding gates, of long security lines and crowded terminals. But appearances deceive. Beneath the quiet surface, she carries a secret known to no one on board. She is an officer of the United States government, traveling under a false identity, bound for Texas on a mission that requires silence and precision. Her training has taught her to disappear in plain sight, to observe without being observed. And so she sits, still and watchful, as the plane slices through the morning air. The camera glides forward, toward the front of the aircraft. Beyond a locked door, the cockpit glows with panels of light. Two pilots sit at the controls, eyes on the instruments, voices low and steady over the radio. The sky ahead is clear, the weather calm, the flight routine. Everything feels stable, predictable, until it doesn't. It begins almost imperceptibly. The captain rubs his temple as though fighting sudden dizziness. His co-pilot frowns, adjusting his headset, blinking hard. A moment later, the captain slumps forward in his seat. The co-pilot turns sharply toward him, confusion flashing into alarm, only to stagger himself, hands trembling, vision blurring. Within seconds, both men collapse against the controls. The autopilot holds the plane steady for now, but the cockpit has fallen silent. The door remains closed. In the cabin, no one knows at least, not yet from halfway down the aisle, two men rise from their seats. Their movements are too deliberate, too synchronized to belong to ordinary passengers. They carry no expressions of panic or concern, only cold purpose. One lingers near the aisle as the other slips toward the front, eyes scanning for crew members. Beneath his jacket, metal glints briefly in the low cabin light. A flight attendant approaches the cockpit, knocking softly, confused by the lack of response from inside. One of the men steps into her path. His hand rests lightly at his side where the concealed weapon waits. He shakes his head once. The meaning is clear enough. Passengers notice now. Nervous glances pass between strangers. A baby cries somewhere near the back. The hum of the engines feels louder in the growing silence, like the sky itself holding its breath. And still, by the window, the young woman does not move. Her eyes remain half-lidded, her breathing even, but beneath that calm exterior her mind sharpens to a single point. The mission she carried was never meant to reveal itself here, but missions rarely unfold according to plan. She watches the men vanish into the cockpit. She sees the flight attendant's pale face as the door closes. She feels the shift in the plane's steady rhythm as control slips away from those meant to hold it. And slowly, deliberately, she rises from her seat. The tension spreads through the cabin like a slow fire. Passengers whisper urgently now, pointing toward the sealed cockpit door. A flight attendant hurries down the aisle, her voice low, frantic, explaining to those near her what has happened. Both pilots are unconscious. The cockpit will not answer. Panic flickers at the edges of the crowd but has not yet consumed it. People wait for someone to act, for someone in authority to appear. But at 30,000 feet, authority feels impossibly far away. Until the young woman steps forward. She moves with neither hesitation nor theatrics, simply walking toward the front as though she belongs there. Flight attendants start to protest, then pause at the steadiness in her eyes. She shows them something, an ID, a gesture, a sign known only to those who understand such things. Whatever it is, It silences doubt. The door unlocks. Inside, the air smells faintly of sweat and metal and something chemical. Both pilots remain slumped, breathing but unresponsive. The instrument panels blink warnings. Altitude. Autopilot. Fuel. The plane needs hands at the controls. Now. She takes the captain's seat. But the threat is not over. From behind, the two men move quickly, realizing too late that someone has stepped into their plan. One draws his weapon, the other lunges toward the controls. What follows happens faster than most passengers can comprehend. Years of training channel into seconds of motion. The young woman twists, disarming the first man before he can fire. The weapon skitters uselessly across the floor. The second man swings wildly. She drives him back with ruthless efficiency, each movement precise, economical, final. When it ends, both men lie bound near the cockpit door, restrained with whatever the crew could find: seatbelts, electrical cords, anything strong enough to hold. Their faces burn with frustrated rage, but the fight has left them. The cabin breathes again, but the greater battle has only begun. Outside the windows, the sky tilts unnaturally. The horizon slides at a wrong angle. The plane has begun to descend too quickly. Its engines protesting as gravity pulls harder than it should. She grips the controls, scanning instruments, forcing calm into her voice as she radios air traffic control. Static answers, then distant voices. Then instructions spoken rapidly from the world below. Headings, altitudes, runway coordinates. She follows them all. The passengers feel each turn, each drop in altitude, each shudder of metal through the thin air. Some pray, some hold each other's hands with white-knuckled fear. Some simply stare forward, eyes unfocused, caught in the suspended moment between hope and disaster. Through it all, the young woman moves with unwavering focus. Flaps adjust, speed bleeds off. Landing gear deploys with a groan of hydraulics below. The Texas landscape rises from the haze. Green and gold fields stretching toward a waiting runway lined with flashing lights. Fire trucks and ambulances cluster at its edges. Red lights spinning silently in the afternoon sun. The final approach begins. Engines roar as she fights the crosswinds. The runway races closer, impossibly narrow from this height. Warnings flash across the control panel. Altitude, terrain, speed. She keeps the descent steady, leveling the wings against the buffeting air. The ground fills the windows now, fences, roads. The tiny shapes of waiting vehicles rushing upward far too fast, then impact. The wheels slam asphalt, tires scream. The cabin rattles violently as metal and earth meet at last. Reverse thrusters howl. The runway streaks. Past in blurs of grey and white paint. The plane slows, stops. For a moment, no one moves. Then the cabin erupts, not in chaos this time, but in trembling, disbelieving relief. People weep openly, strangers embrace. A baby wails in confusion as its mother laughs through tears outside. Rescue crews swarm the aircraft. Paramedics rush aboard to treat the unconscious pilots. Armed officers take custody of the two bound men, dragging them down the aisle, and into waiting vehicles where flashing lights paint their faces red and blue. Through it all, the young woman speaks little. She gives a brief report to those who need it, hands over what evidence she collected, confirms the safety of passengers and crew. Her mission was never glory. It was completion. The camera follows her as she steps off the plane at last. The sun hangs low over Texas now, casting long shadows across the tarmac. The wind lifts her hair as she walks toward a waiting government, vehicle parked beyond the rescue trucks. No one asks her name, no one knows where she goes next. But those who were here today will remember the calm figure who rose from anonymity when everything fell apart, who fought back the dark at 30,000 feet, who brought them all safely home. The camera pulls back one final time, rising above the runway, above the airport, above the clouds themselves until the world below falls silent and small. The sun sinks toward the horizon, washing the sky in fire and gold. The screen fades to black. Only the sound of wind remains.